It's just a horrendous, awful place. It's a place where people are terrified, are frightened, and people, even just who've seen hell, even years later, they recall in horror of what they saw there. Just a place of awfulness. People have seen Satan there. People have actually had conversations with Satan. People have had conversations with demons there. People have heard the demons swear. They said they never heard language such as they heard in hell. They had all the swear words that are commonly used and more.
Was assigned to an assembly belt under penalty of judgment by some helper, evil over here, if he didn't complete placing these giant multicolored puzzles, like a jigsaw puzzle that was coming by, one piece to the next. If he didn't get it on time, he was under penalty. And he was screaming, "I'm in hell." Where's the hell? To him, that was hell. He never wants that again. Never. He converted his whole life. Converted his wife, too, who he woke in that hospital in Knoxville with his head in her lap in the hospital bed. It was a very touching story, and it's life-changing. Everything is so violently life-changing, or so peacefully life-changing, so wonderful. So you're onto a subject that is important to every individual present. Is it safe to die? Do I know where I'm going before I get there? That's the question.
And what of heaven? Is it the blinding white light, the benevolent presence of a supreme being, the wondrous feeling of love and peace that we've always imagined it to be? Some NDE survivors also got to glimpse heaven and found it just as real and tangible as hell had been.
As I was drawn into the opening, I could now see that it was a tunnel. As I looked along the length of it, I could see the source of the radiance. My first thought is the center of the universe. Look at the light. Look at the power coming from there. As I've been moved towards it, I watch as a wave of radiance comes up. As this wave of light comes off the source, it touches me, and I feel warmth, comfort. All that kind of fear and darkness just seems to go out of me, and I feel a living light flow through me. Shafts of radiance came out from the central core. It was like a white fire. Phenomenal radiance in the central core. From that, I watched this brilliant light piercing out. And I thought, even the stars in the universe, even the constellations must find their energy source from this focal point. What is that light? Is there someone in there surrounded by this radiance? As I questioned that in my own mind, a voice spoke to me from the center of the light.
Right, for sure. Well, first of all, their spirit leaves their bodies, and then not always, but very commonly, they meet Jesus Christ. They describe him as nearly 6 foot tall, but radiating light, tremendous amount of light coming from him, from his face and from his chest and from his arms and from his legs. Many people describe he's still dressed in the clothes appropriate to a Jewish rabbi. Of course, Jesus was a Jewish rabbi. And he has a golden sash around his waist. Many people, as they come close to, in their minds come these words, "You're in the presence of the Son of God." And at that point, many people get down and start to worship Jesus Christ. And at that point, they realize he's still got holes in his hands and in his feet, because they're quite close to his feet by then. And they realize that those crucifixion holes are still there. But people, it isn't just the appearance of Jesus, it's the fact that they feel in the presence of so much love. Many people said they've never felt like that. They've never felt so completely surrounded by love, powerful as that. It's just incredible love. I mean, for example, some of the people I've interviewed have been hardened Second World War soldiers. I mean, these are, tough guys. And they started to cry as they described coming to the presence of Jesus. Amazing, really. And then, of course, after that, people either go to heaven, not invariably, but many, either go to heaven or go to hell. Now, let's talk about the nice place. In heaven, first of all, they find themselves in their spirit bodies. They're looking down and they're looking at bright white hands and bright white feet. In fact, the whole body is bright and light and white. They're different bodies. They feel young, they feel rejuvenated, they feel fully in control of all their senses. And yet, for example, Dr. Eby, he described, he said that his sort of reasoning power was greatly increased. His thought processes were much more powerful. He could see much further. He could hear much more. His hearing was much more powerful. His whole body was just a much better upgrade model, if you like. But then what do they see? Well, first of all, they often describe walking either on streets of transparent gold, as it says in Revelation 21, or walking in fields of flowers, but these flowers are radiating light. Light comes from the trees and the flowers and the grass. And there's not only light coming from the trees and the flowers and the grass, but music as well. And here's an amazing thing. Many people have said, Richard, it's an extraordinary thing, but you can see music in heaven. Now, I can't explain that. I just can't explain that, but they say you can see the music in heaven. And then they say there's no sun there, but light just comes from the trees and the flowers and the grass. People have seen the river of life. Some people have seen the throne of God, that's God the Father, which is very big actually. It's many people said it's up to 3 stories high. And there's a rainbow over the throne, just like it says in the scriptures. Many people have seen this great lake in front of the throne, and people have seen crowds and crowds of people around the throne of God, all praising God. And remember, you can see the music. Now, people have been transported around different parts of heaven. We tend to think of heaven as a place. It's a huge place. It's huge. It's massive. It's outside time, which is difficult for us to comprehend. But another thing is people can travel to different parts of heaven instantaneously. People have looked up to mountains and said, I'd like to be there, and they would instantly be there. People have met their angels, their personal angels. Psalm 91 says we have our own personal angels, and many people have seen their own personal angels. It's amazing. It's absolutely... one woman I'm thinking of met her own child in heaven. This little girl, she was only 10, she was killed by a truck or a lorry. This was in the States, and when she got to heaven, there's this little child playing in a beautiful garden. And she was ecstatically happy, playing with a lot of other children as well. And in fact, this particular lady said to the little girl, wouldn't you like to come back to Earth? And she said, well, Jesus said I could. But actually, it was such fun here, I decided to stay here. So there we are. So that's heaven. Heaven is just dramatic. In fact, you can always tell when people have been to heaven, because they're just yearning to go back. Most of the people who I've met who've really seen heaven just wanted to be there.
It is clear that adults who experience NDEs are influenced by their religious and cultural value system. But what about those who are not yet influenced by culture or religion? Young children. Will they give us a better view on NDE?
So it's then a matter of religious belief systems as to whether you think that other reality is real or not. So that's the issue of religion and philosophy. But nevertheless, when I say near-death experiences are real, I mean that they occur when these children say that they're happening, which means at the point of death. Let me give you an example. I resuscitated a young boy about 8 years old who had massive cardiac failure in the lobby of Seattle Children's Hospital. Dramatic resuscitation. After we successfully brought him back to life, he opened his eyes and he goes, "That was weird. You guys just sucked me back into my body." He accurately described everything that was happening to him. He could see the top of one of our attending physicians' heads who was starting to go bald, and accurately described that, even though we knew at this time he was comatose. In addition, he said that while he was being resuscitated and his heart had stopped, he was on the ceiling looking down at us, and he was bathed in a white light.